Hi, we're here today with Rick Dossey. This is part of the Arizona Drag Racing Legends, part of the Arizona Drag Racing Hall of Fame. And we're talking about people, their history and their love for the drag racing and what got them involved and their stories and their takeaways. And we'll start with Rick today. Rick's from where are you from?
Chandler, Arizona.
Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
How long you lived in Chandler?
My whole life.
Couldn't I hear you're moving?
I'm moving to Maricopa, so
well, that's a long ways
15
away.
minutes
Well, good for you. That's a big change. You're finally going to do it. So
leave town.
When did you first realize that you had an affliction to cars?
Well, my brother actually got me involved in it. He's a little older than I am, and he was friends with Mr. Barnes over here. And the first time I saw Yule, I was probably 11 years old, and he had a new 56 Chevy that had the two 4-barrels on it from the factory. And I didn't know what a carburetor was, but I thought if one's good, two got to be better. and I loved that car he had, and I always watched him race it. And about that time, they started the Chandler drag strip, and my brother was involved in the club that had that, and Yule was in it, and Jackie Schneff, and Jimmy Miller, and people like that. And they let me drive the street sweeper at the drag strip. Here I was 11, 12 years old.
You have low ET in the street sweeper?
Oh, yeah. And I run up and down that strip 5 million times each week. And then I'd get off of it, and they'd run the cars. And if they made a mess, I'd go sweep it up with that little sweeper like a grocery store.
Well, high tech back then.
It was. And I met a lot of good people, and a lot of guys.
What year would this been?
58,
okay.
1958. And then from there, they started drag strip at Deer Valley. And I went up there, of course, and Yule was involved in it, and Jackie Schnepp. All the same people were involved in it, and that's where I met Larry Steiniger and Albert Ishenbaugh, Dean Turk. Howard came over. They brought their car over. I remember one time Chrisman and Cannon were there, brought 2 cars. Patrick and Ferry out of Tucson had a good car, and it crashed real bad out there and hurt Ray Ferry real bad. And Speedsport, of course, was there with the old Roadster, the noisy one. And I met all those guys, and they all treated me just like I was one of the guys, you know. And I was only 12, 13 years old. Johnny Loper was always good to me, Jim Stewart. And I remember at Beeline, Stewart ran around with these 2 big brothers. They were twins, or not twins, they were big, burly guys, Dick and Paul Vowell. Big beards on them, and they were iron workers, and they were big and bully, and I was scared to death of them. And I remember my brother told me, stay away from those guys, they're crazy. And Stewart was running with him. So I always thought, well, Stewart was crazy too, but he wasn't. He always treated me real well. But they all drank like fish, and they drank more than these guys. Yeah.
Impossible.
They did. And anyway, they always treated me real well. Stewart always did. Anytime you needed something, he was there. Larry Steiniger, whatever you need, we have it. Dean Turk, Glenn Brown, Charlie Brown, all that bunch. They're all treated me real well just because I was just a kid. And they were all, adults. And Glenn, then he started driving Yule's car, and that's where the Arrow came in, because Glenn was definitely a full throttle guy on a small block. You don't have to worry about him putting in with the gas. He'd give it a lot of gas. But then when Finley and everybody came around, they didn't give it quite all the gas. That's where the Arrow came in. And we kidded Finley one time that Yule put a bungee cord up there, and he would reach over at the start line. He'd pull the Arrow over and hook it, and then look at Finley and then say, "Okay, go." And the whole time it's wide open. But the Arrow stayed with that car forever, and
the legend of Chandler, the Arrow.
The Arrow, yeah. And then when Yule and Jimmy Miller started running Top Fuel with that Chevrolet, small block Chevrolet on nitro, they kept the car in my brother's shop, and my brother and I had a fuel altered that came from Jim Simpson, and Chauvin had built the car. Chauvin Emmons had built the car, and it had a Bantam body on it, and we put a small block with a blower on it, but we only ran alcohol. We didn't run any fuel in it. And then Yule had the nitro in the Chevy, and every weekend on Sunday morning there'd be the rods be hanging out of it. And then every Saturday morning, the following Saturday, we're going to run it again, or he's going to run it again. So we'd all meet at the shop, and Yule would show up with a new 327 short block from Chevrolet. Short block, had the pistons in it, stock, everything stock. We'd tear it down to the bare block, put their crank in it, which he had Arizona Hard Chrome reclaimed during the week. Got a new set of rods from Howard, and we always had extra pistons. And we would build that motor that morning, put it in the car, button it up, and then we'd run it that night at Beeline. That night we'd blow it up again. By about the final, about like you said, when you raced Steinecker with that Chrysler, you could beat him to about 1,000 foot. And then the Chevrolet would either blow up or an Albert would go by so fast you didn't know where, you thought you were stopped. But by then the Chevy had the rods hanging out. But it was an every week deal. And then on Monday morning, Yule would take all the cam and the crank and the pistons and rods stock back and get a credit on it from the Chevrolet dealer. And that would go towards the next short block the following week. And then we'd do the same thing every Saturday morning. And that's really where I learned how to build motors, was just with helping them put that together.
How old were you?
I was about 16 or 17 then. I was just out of high school. I was 17 probably. And then I drove with the fuel alternator with my brother. It was just on alcohol. But it run 155 or so at 9.5 seconds. But it was all over the track. It was crazy. I mean, it was all.
Was it a short wheelbase fuel alternator?
Yes. I had some pictures, but I've got them stored away, and I'm in the process of moving.
Well, hopefully we can get, maybe when you get a chance, we can get some and show them here on the video.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun.
And then kind of got out of it, got married, and had a family and all that. And then 10 years later or so, when they were getting the Cotton King going, I got helping them on it a little bit, and then we didn't really have a driver. Well, maybe I'd like to drive it. So Bill Goosey said, "Here, come and drive my car." He had a little rear-engine dragster with an injected big block Chevy in it. So I went to Tucson with him, and I drove it a couple of rounds that night. And it had a 3-speed. I'd never driven anything with a transmission in it, and this had the air shifters on it. I remember when the first time I left the line, of course, didn't have an arrow, but I gave her the gas pretty good. And when I reached for the second gear, I got in behind it, and I couldn't find it, and I could hear the valves were floating. And I finally found it, and I got second, and it kind of jerked, and away we went, and I ran about 160 or so. And then we came back again and made another run. I found the shifter that time and got it shifted all right. So then, about that time, we pulled the Chevrolet out of the Cotton King, put a Chrysler in it, and ran on alcohol, and that's when I started driving. I never drove with the Chevrolet in it. And then we drove that for a year or so, and we built a big trailer for it, a big fifth wheel, 40-foot trailer. We built that in Finley's shop, in the alley, actually behind his house, behind the shop. And then we towed around every day, the front and back around the back, and did all the welding, everything on it. We did the whole thing.
A team effort.
Team effort. So then we started running, and then we wanted to go better, so we went to Top Fuel and started running it. And I'll never forget, went to Orange County one night. It was a points meet. They had points meets then. And at Orange County, you had to push down in front of the stands, then start it, and then go up and make a U-turn around, and both cars have to make U-turns around. So in that car, the fuel went on over here this way, and the brake you had to push instead of pull. And so put the fuel on, and you put a zip tie at the pump behind me. And then when we shut it off, I could just pull it, and it break the zip tie. That way, when the burnout stuff, it would never vibrate shut. So we got turned around. I did the burnout, and you had to push them back then. There's no reversers. And as I stopped, the motor came up like it was shutting off. When I touched the fuel, and it was back about halfway up, so I pushed it back on, and of course it started running good. So I moved a little bit. But by the time Mike got there to the cars, he would guide it with the steering wheel. I just took my hands off the wheel and just used the brake. And I moved it. He looked at it, he moved it, and I'm thinking, do something, We're gonna make a run here. And they're pushing me back. And we got back to the starting line and did a dry hop or something, and he went, go. Because I figure if I leave the line, it'll shut off, blow the blower off of it. So normally, I drove with my left hand and was on the brake, and then would shift. We only have 2 speeds, shift at one time, but by then you're almost at the end, and I just get the parachute. I never took the left hand. So here I sit at the line, I'm holding both, nothing on the steering wheel. And I'm staged. I'm like, uh-oh, what do you do? So and so when I left the line, then I had to quickly grab. And it messed me all up because I'm trying to hold this one in, and I put my right hand to steer it, and all over the track and everything. What in the world? But it made it and got qualified. Got down to the end, I said, Finley, I cussed him good. What the hell? Why did you fix it? What was I going to do? He said, the truck's about 100 yards down there where the zip ties are in the truck. And he said, I couldn't
So-
run down there and back.
And the zip tie popped off, or?
It broke
Yeah.
in the burnout. Yeah. Yeah, so we made it work. Got qualified. But that was one of our stories. Another time we went to Colorado, to Colorado Springs, and it was 8th mile track. And at the finish line, you went up a hill, probably up 300 or 400 feet, and it leveled out, and it didn't go very far. And then from there was a mountain up with rocks, and there was a turn through there. They could have cut through the mountain there. So we never had really good brakes ever on any of the cars they had, even like Barry was talking. And when I left the starting line, it blew the gasket out of the back of the manifold. And it was just a yellow or green fog of oil coming out. And I didn't know I'm driving. So when I got to the end, I hit the chute. And hit the chute, and hit the chute, and I couldn't ever feel it hit. So I got on the brakes hard, and there was nothing. It was just so oil soaked. And I'm running, we ran 175 or so. I think, ooh, see the end coming here real quick, there's rocks. So I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I'm on the brake as hard as I can. And so I got up there and I thought, what am I going to do? Am I going to go up and just destroy the car, or I'm going to try to make the turn? So when I turned it, it just plowed. And I jerked it again, and it just turned through that cut, and I went up on the bank. Well, then the return road went down the same way. It's at nighttime, so I'm coasting. Well, the chute blossomed out even going downhill. I see the ambulance and fire truck and our dually on the strip going back up, and I'm over here 100 yards or so, and I'm going down, and they're going up. They don't see me. I coasted all the way to the trailer. And I'm sitting at the trailer, and here they came back. Where the hell you been? I coasted all the way back.
So they're down there looking for you.
They thought I went up the hill.
That's a great story. See the little sprint car in at the top when you finally get to.
Oh yeah.
Rode the bank, took the high cushion, and
Yeah,
came
it
around.
went up and didn't hurt the car. And if I'd have went up, it had tore it to pieces. It was just solid boulders and everything. And they were up there looking for me. But so we pulled the body off to make sure we didn't break anything, and it didn't hurt anything. And put it all back together, ran it again, everything worked, didn't break. But then at Pomona, in the burnout, it broke that third rail. That was that 3-rail car. It broke that third rail. And that's when we had it fixed made it a 5-rail. Then we put 2 motors on it.
So I was there. I remember just,
Yes.
in my mind. I remember it breaking and a whole bunch of people picking up.
In the middle, it was broken. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Which I'm glad it broke there than at the end.
At the other end, yeah.
It might have been a little different story.
Yeah. Well, it's the memories of that though. It was.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about the car. It's a beautiful car,
It was.
and it had to be an honor to drive because people would,
It was. We had a
a lot of pictures
fun.
taken of it. It was really cutting edge as far as even the 3-rail car. You try things that are different. If they work, they work. If they don't, you tried it. If you don't try it, you're not going to try to. You don't get ahead.
But like I say, all the people we met, like we mentioned, Frank Bradley, Larry Dixon, Senior and Junior, Jerry Johansson, all of those guys that ran, the professionals that ran, and we just had a lot of fun. Met a lot of good people, and like I say, I've known Yule and Mike both for more than 60 years. Is how long I've known them. Talking about bicycles, that's how I met him. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and he came right up to my house in Chandler, and he was wanting to talk to my sister.
Was this Mr. Finley?
Mr. Finley did, and that's when I met him, and we've been friends ever since. And he was in 2nd grade, and I was in 1st grade.
What a group.
Yeah, and I've known him ever since, and I thought, why do we like him?
Well, we like you. Yeah, he's a legend.
He's a legend, all right.
He's our legend. The
I do
Chandler
have another
legend.
story about Finley, though.
Can we talk about it?
Yeah, you can talk about it. It's
Okay.
all clean.
Oh,
He used to like to drink a lot. Yeah. And Barry Norman did too. They both did a lot. And so we're going to Pomona for the Winter Nationals. And we'd been to Tucson the week before, and we had a steel motor in the car. We didn't have aluminum block then, and we broke it. So during the week, Finley and I, and probably Barry, we all rebuilt the motor. And this other boy that went with us, he was a young kid named William Irwin. We said, you go home and you sleep these nights, because we all had jobs. We worked during the day, and then we work on the car at night. And then when we go to Pomona, you can drive over, because we had no money. We try to get to Pomona at daylight, so we get in tech and no hotel. No expensive hotel that night. So we're going to Pomona. Well, Finley starts out driving, and he's had about a 12-pack already. Which he did that. He could drive with a 12-pack very easily and not even be drunk. So we're going out there about the Salome, out in that area, and a woman patrolman stops us. And I'm pushing cans under the seat, and they're in the front. And she stopped. You know, we were speeding. We were going about 80 or so, and speeding. 2 in the morning. She says, so I'm staying in the truck, and all of a sudden she knocks on my window. I roll it down. Yes, ma'am. I've arrested your friend. I said, for what? For driving while intoxicated. I said, well, he's not drunk. She said, oh, yes, he is. I said, no, you haven't seen him drunk before. I said, he ain't drunk at all. So she says, well, I'm going to have to arrest him. I said, well, so I tried to talk her out of it, but she said, well, I've already arrested him. Well, this was a weird deal because she had him handcuffed in front and had him in the front seat of the police car. Yeah. Which I thought, man, this is all weird. So I go back. I said, well, you know, we don't have enough money to bail him out. Where are we going? She said, we're going to Salome, which is off of the freeway about 10 miles. She said, have you been drinking? I said, no, ma'am, I haven't. So she did the test on me, you know, where I'd stand on one leg and all that, and I was good. Well, you can drive that. I said, okay. So I'm back to Finley. I said, well, give me your wallet. I got to have some money. Because I had a couple hundred, and he had 200 or 300, and William had some money. So I get the money together so we can get him out. So we follow her to Salome, still in the front seat of the car, handcuffed in front of him, and a woman patrolling. I'm thinking, I've never seen that before. So we go to Salome. I said, well, they could probably put him in jail for the night. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Here comes the judge. And it's a little, like a mud hut looking thing with one little cell on the side. They never even put him in it. He sat in a chair, handcuffed. Here comes the judge. He's got a little fishing hat on. Looks like Andy from Mayberry, I swear. Had hooks all over it. He came in and he said, son, what are you doing? He said, well, they say I've been drinking, which he had been drinking, but he was not drunk, I will say that. And so we got to talking, and Finley, you know, the good talker that he is, he said, I know some guys that live over here in Salome. Oh, who? And there was some people from Chandler that had a dairy over there. Oh, yeah, we know them real well, and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, you might know my dad. And he said, you know, he's got quarter horses, whatever. Yeah, I've heard of him. So I said, well, son, I'm going to let you go. But he said, it's going to be, I think, a $360 fine.
Something like that.
Something like that. So I get the cash out, and I had enough, and I paid it. Had it there on the deal. And then he said, got any other questions? And Mike says, yes, sir, I do. He said, what's that? He said, can I get that cash back and write you a check? And I'm thinking, there's no way this is going to happen. And he said, it won't bounce, will it? He said, why, no, I wouldn't write you a hot check. He said, well, I guess it's okay then. So we wrote him a check. Got our cash back. I jumped in and drove. We got to Blythe, and he drove some more after Blythe. And he settled away. He said, man, we got to get some money in the bank on Monday. That hot check is hotter than hell. There was no money in the account.
Another story about the legend.
The legend, and it worked. Plus, when it came time for the judge, the trial, he beat it. How? I don't know.
Teflon.
Exactly.
Nothing stuck.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That was one of our race stories.
So your takeaway from what drag racing's meant to you in your life?
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun, met a lot of good people. Some of these guys, I mean, they're all crazy and goofy, but they're pretty good, down-to-earth guys. I can depend on all of them. Mike's been sick. We've been helping him out. Barry's had a little health problem. We've been helping him out. Yule still works every day. I've recently retired, but I still could work. I mean, I probably will because I'm already bored. But these guys are all salt of the earth, and all the people we met, like I was telling you, Frank Bradley, Dixon's, Bob Downey, Danny Porsche, they were the Howard Cam Rattler guys. They're all passed away now. All good guys. Give you anything you needed.
Great memories.
Yeah, really good guys.
Well, Rick, it's been great talking with you. Your stories your memories are wonderful, and thank you for being a part of an Arizona drag racing legend. We truly appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.